Just here at a core stadium in Sydney, we've seen the Lions lose to the Wallabies. Pretty substantial loss, actually. They were pretty outclassed, in my opinion, tonight. Boys, I just want to get your thoughts on the game. So I'm here with a couple of Wallabies fans. So, boys, what did you make of the performance from the Wallabies, first and foremost? And why do you think they were so much better tonight than they were in the past couple of weeks?
The Wallabies, look, we go back to the second game. They had the game in their hands to win, and unfortunately they didn't. But they had nothing to lose tonight, there's nothing more embarrassing to lose 3-0 in your home turf, and I think the Wallabies really knew that and were really hurting after last week.
Right.
And this week really showed that they stepped up. And to be honest, before the whole series started, everyone wrote off the Wallabies.
Yeah.
No one gave them a chance of hell.
Yeah.
Everyone thought the Lions come through and smoke them. And for them to unfortunately lose the series, but through every game they didn't lose more than only single fingers they lost by. So there's still plenty for Australian rugby and the Wallabies to take from that, what's massive, and lots of positive signs for the Wallabies.
No, I agree with that. And I think if I'm a Wallaby fan as well, I'm actually claiming the series because of that controversial call in the second game. If that had gone the other way, then you could potentially be 2-1 tonight. So, you know, I think it was a very even matchup in terms of the two teams. It was just a good series in general. I think they were evenly matched sides. I think if the Lions actually went to New Zealand or South Africa, they might have been beaten pretty convincingly, potentially. And so,
I'll tell you this. We were robbed in game 2.
Is that right?
Thunder and Lightning tried to stop us in game 3, but the Wallabies lifted. They marched on. Forget the referee card Robertson. It's a convincing win. Should have happened in game 2. Should have been a series win for the Wallabies. So fuck the Lions. Go the Wallabies. Should have been 2-1, baby.
Oh, there we go. Wallabies fans, very arrogant typically. But so where do you see the main differences from game 1, especially where the Lions won pretty convincingly? Where do you think what changed tonight, would you say? I mean, obviously they got a few players back, but
Clearly it's a bit of an unknown what you're going to expect in the first game. Your first game's the tester, what you're expecting, and then. But I think the biggest difference between the teams is the bench. Okay. Lions bring on a fresh bench full of experience, where the Wallabies bring on still a young and trying to find their feet bench. So that's a huge difference. I personally feel that's what cost them in the second game. Where as soon as the Lions brought on their bench and the Wallabies did, that showed the clear difference.
No, I get that. And to go with that, when the Lions were bringing on their bench in their second test, the Wallabies were losing players, and players like Mook Wright, Valentini, Skelton all went off. They kind of lost that edge. But those players stepped up for the full almost 80 minutes tonight. Those players were instrumental pretty much throughout the whole game. That's what I felt. And they really won that game. The breakdown was a massive area. Line-outs, breakdown, scrum, those kind of set-piece engagements, I think the Wallabies really dominated. I think those players that we mentioned for the Wallabies who actually stayed on a bit longer this week really made the difference for them tonight.
Well, that's massive. Well, that's the whole presence of Will Skelton. I think he's massive for the Wallabies. He brings that physicality, and he brings everyone else in the Wallabies up. And to be fair, that's what the Lions are really good at, is their physicality. All of them bring it. And a bloke like Will Skelton for the Wallabies is massive because he just brings everyone else's drive up. And it shows on the field. So I think Wallabies really need to focus.
Were you a bit disappointed in the Lions' performance tonight, or do you think the Wallabies just stepped it up, so that's what it was?
Hard to say. I don't know. I don't want to take away from what the Wallabies brought because they have worked their ass off to really not be embarrassed, especially on their own turf.
All right.
And
they fronted up, didn't they?
They fronted up. You couldn't ask much more for them. But the Lions have no excuse there. They have arguably the best players in the world in so many positions. You've got 4 nations against a 1 nation, and arguably they've got some of the best in the world.
No, I agree with that. I agree. I think the Lions were particularly poor this evening, and I think a mix-up of the squad would have been helpful for the final game. Instead of going with the same team that won that second test, I think potentially they got a little bit complacent and a little bit carried away after that win in the second test. They didn't quite bring the same energy tonight. That's what I felt. They're just a little bit off it.
Can I say one
Yeah,
thing
go
as
for
well?
it, go for it.
Just want to say huge shout out to Nick White, obviously retiring tonight. The ovation he got when he walked off the field was tremendous. True Wallabies legend. He's been playing through a tough period for the Wallabies. So a great moment for him in front of 85,000 people to get the win. It was awesome to see.
No, that was a great send-off. And I was actually thinking, it was such a good performance from him personally. I think they should be trying to get him to carry on. What do you reckon about that? Build the team around people like White, Skelton.
You got to allow the young talent to come through at some point, and he's done it for over a decade for us.
Yeah, fair enough. And to go with that, Wallabies, they're not short of scrum halves. Well, you've got McDermott, and who was the other one who's looked good? Can't remember his name. Gordon. So they'll be all right. They'll be all right. They'll be all right. All right, boys, appreciate your thoughts. Really appreciate it. You too. Thanks, boys. Appreciate it. Hey, congratulations on the win. You too.